Well, let's talk more about it then. I'm joined here on set by our Foreign Affairs editor, Philip Turle, who's with us. Philip, first of all, I mean, what is your reading of these scores as they've come in?
Well, first of all, let's have a look at the map, shall we, just to catch up on exactly where all of this is taking place in Ukraine. So we're talking about the eastern part of the country. The four regions are Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, and they are now having voted to become part of the Russian Federation. In probably just a few days' time will probably become part of Russia. There they are, and in Crimea at the bottom there, which was already annexed by Russia back in 2014. Now let's have a look at those scores you were just mentioning, Stuart. Well, they are actually quite amazing by their high numbers. This is almost something that one would have seen in the old days as part of the Soviet Union before the breakup in 1991. Kherson 87% in favour of joining Russia, Zaporizhzhia 93.1%, Donetsk 99.2%, and Luhansk 98.4%. I don't think anybody in the West really believes that many people cast their ballots in favour of joining the Russian Federation. And I think many people in the West are actually asking whether those ballots were even counted at all, or whether these numbers were just conjured up as a way of pointing the finger at the West and saying, well, you like referenda, well, we've also done it, and these are the results which prove that everybody there wants to join with Russia. No international observers to be on the ground to check whether or not they were free and fair polls. Half the population in those regions has fled as a result of the war, so they weren't even able to vote and to cast their ballots as to whether or not they wanted to become part of Russia. It was a war zone. It is still a war zone, so it's difficult for people to be able to vote there free and fairly. How would you like to have a Russian soldier coming to your door with a gun and saying, would you like to vote in the referendum to become part of the Russian Federation? So all of those are, I think, the elements that are making people believe that this referendum is really a sham.
So do you think we're certain to see an annexation now, and if so, when, by Vladimir Putin?
Well, I'm going back to thinking about what I was told when I was a school student in history, and I was told by my teachers back then that if a leader amasses his troops on the border, it's because he wants to use them. That's what Vladimir Putin did when he invaded Ukraine back on the 24th of February. If he's calling these referenda now, it's because he intends to annex these territories. So I think the noises coming out of Western capitals is that probably Vladimir Putin will be talking on Thursday or Friday this week, and it looks like that annexation will go ahead probably by the end of this week. If what happened in Crimea in 2014 is anything to go by, there was a referendum there, and just a few days after that referendum in March 2014, Russia annexed Crimea and was then thrown out of the G8. I think we're looking at a similar situation here. The West will not accept it. This probably won't change much as far as the war is concerned. The big question now is, how far will Vladimir Putin go once these territories are annexed? Will he then use that as a threat against the West, an increasing threat that if they put a foot in there, he is going to unleash weapons of mass destruction? I think that's a worry the West has. As for Ukraine, I think it will carry on with its war, pretending that nothing has happened, and try to push out Russian forces because they feel they have an advance at the moment and that Russia is on the back foot.
Philip, thanks very much. Philip Turle, International Affairs Editor here on France 24.